Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Mid-Morning. We are in a special location this morning, obviously a church, and I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. But let's start here. Every football player's dream is to make it to the Super Bowl. Well, the state of Mississippi will be well represented in this year's Super Bowl, but even closer to home, Starkville will be well represented in the Super Bowl this year. But even closer to that, there is a church here in the community of Starkville that has 2 players that will be on that field Sunday. And that is why we are at 16th Section Missionary Baptist Church this morning. Philadelphia Eagles A.J. Brown and Kansas City Chiefs Willie Gay are members and grew up in this church. And joining me this morning, their parents, to talk about this proud moment that they will share with their sons this coming Sunday, Arthur Brown and Bridget Ware Gay. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
First of all, let me just ask you this. Can you believe this, that we have reached this moment?
Wow, it haven't hit me yet.
Really?
No, it haven't. It's a blessing.
Bridget?
It's definitely unimaginable. He's been there before, and the first time was like he was injured, and it was like having his dream just washed away in front of him because he couldn't play. And it was so devastating because he couldn't even go to the game because he was on crutches at the time. So now he gets to relive that moment, and it's amazing.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. I want to talk about these young men because they started in the Pee Wee League here in Starkville. They were in elementary school, so they've been doing this their whole lives. So talk about them, and I'll start with you, Arthur, your son growing up as a little bitty boy playing football. Could you imagine he was going to get here?
Well, yeah, he was playing with the Raiders at that time. And I always played him with kids older than him. So to let him compete, because he always wanted the ball in his hand. So basically, when we know he was growing up, once he started playing with kids older than him, and he started competing with them, then I know that he advanced over his age group. So basically, I always just did that, just pushed him to just go play older kids.
Bridget, you and I were talking. You said Willie has always been very quiet, but you said he just turns into sort of a different person when he gets on the football field. Was he that way even in the Pee Wee leagues?
No. Now, Pee Wee League was something different. I remember at that particular time it was late Andre Williams. He started the Pee Wee League, and the first year he begged me to let him play, and I'm like, no, he's not playing football. You know, he's too little.
You're not putting my baby in those
right.
pads.
So the next year I allowed him to play. And it was like, they called it sweet feet. It was like he was so fast. He was little, but he was fast because nobody catch him. So they gave him the nickname Sweet Feet, and they just always wanted him to run the ball. So he was like the running back at that particular time. Give him the ball, he's going to run.
And he's going to run. So they go through the Pee Wee League, they go through junior high, they go through high school, and then they end up on a championship team at Starkville High School, which, by the way, I'm repping Jacket Nation this morning, okay? I'm not making any predictions about the Super Bowl. But, so let's talk about them on that championship team. Do you remember that championship, Bridget, that game?
Oh, yes, definitely. I remember that. AJ had an outstanding game, of course, and Willie was coming along. You know, he was still sophomore that particular year, and AJ was a junior, so AJ was already getting recognition and stuff, and they came on, and they had a great game, and they went on to win the championship, and it was like, you know,
knowing what it feels like to be a champion.
Yeah.
Same thing for AJ, that it's in his blood, right, winning championships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think back to him winning that game, and you know, Bridget mentioning he had such a great game, what do you remember about that?
Well, the championship game, I think it was held in Oxford, and that's when his recruiting was coming. The recruit from Alabama, the wide receiver coach from Alabama, and he came up in the stands and he sat down. It was full at that time, and he came and sat in the middle row where they walk up at, and he was sitting by us, and he said, "Is this amazing?" I said, "Well, it hasn't hit me yet." You know, it just seemed like I'd already, because I never missed a a game. I haven't missed a game ever since T-ball. So, you know, I seen him progress all through the year, and all coming up from a little guy. And so it was exciting, but I'm into sports, and see, I coach. You know, I coached him along the way till I couldn't coach no more. So, and I always pushed him. So I was just hoping that day. Actually, to be honest with you, AJ was living my dream. I was pushing him, you know, because I wanted to be in that spot. So
you got to be really, really proud.
yeah, I am.
A strong family bond, a strong faith community. When we come back, how the members of 16th Section Missionary Baptist Church play a role in the lives of Willie Gay and AJ Brown, then and now. Mid-morning, we'll be right back.
Thank you for this opportunity to come together as your people.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're at 16th Section Missionary Baptist Church in Starkville, which is why we chose this spot to talk to you all and to have this great village behind us. Them growing up in this church, you know, support systems are so important. Talk about them. You're still a deacon here at the church. Talk about having that support system for your boys growing up.
Well, you know, I know the youth watches you, and I know my son watches me as well. So, you know, it's just the way you carry yourself. And I had to change a lot of things that I used to do because I know that they watches me. And then once you get put in a position as a deacon, it's some ways that you have to carry yourself and through the community as well. So, but just watching him as, boy, sit down, well, they never had no problem out of Chip because he was so quiet. He didn't ever, you didn't even know he was
And
back
then Chip
there.
is Willie, so
Yeah.
he grew up as Chip
I'm
out
sorry,
here.
I call him Chip. But, you know, just watches them and go, and we thank God for Reverend Richardson because he had a hand on both of them as well. So, you know, it was a blessing that everybody in the community, we got people that have passed, like Mrs. Young, she have passed, and then you got Mrs. Fountain that would grab them. Then you got the youth department like Miss Webb as well as back there that would grab them, say, nah, all right. And then you got Mrs. Harris that was, you know, you got the whole
I love
church.
the fact that they would just grab them and put them in line.
Yeah, Johnson, with Westbrook. You know, you can go on and on. Mr. D,
Right, absolutely.
Duncan. You know, it's exciting.
Real quickly, I have to ask you, Bridget, before we got to go to break, but Willie's grandfather was his great-great-grandfather was pastor of the church.
Oh, yes. So growing up, we had to be at church, Sunday school, BTU, in the missionary, whatever was going on.
If the doors were
the doors were we was here.
Here.
So unless you were sick, and you had to be literally sick, and that means in the bed, okay? So that's how we grew up. So. And then as we grew up, my grandfather, he had all the young men in the community involved. First Sunday service was something special because he would get all the young men and he would line them up in front of the church for prayer, just the men. And it didn't matter no age group. If you was a male figure, you was in this church, and he made you feel like you was a part. And that was so powerful. And then onto that, when we grew our kids up, so what we do, you going to Bible study, you going to Sunday school, and we kept them involved.
That's exactly
And I
right.
think Willie stayed in activities after he realized, okay, I'm 12, 13 years old, I don't see no way out, so I got to play sports. So he went from basketball, football, baseball, and you name it, he played
Training in
sports.
Bible study for
Yes, because
football.
they
I love it.
They hated choir rehearsal because he say they practiced on one song for 45 minutes.
I love it. Well, listen, there's no doubt about it that this church, this family, this community here has played a role in your son's successes. We wish them the best. I'm not going to ask you to make any predictions. We all win. I'm just going to 16 section wins, no matter who gets the championship trophy. When we come back, we are going to talk to some church leaders about these two young men. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're at 16th Section Missionary Baptist Church in Starkville, where these two great football players who we'll see on the field Sunday night will be playing, A.J. Brown and Willie Gay. And now we're joined by church leaders here at 16th Section who watched these young men grow up. Reverend William Richardson, you were the pastor here for many years, and Ms. Gwen Ware, you were the youth leader. So I know you cracked the whip on them. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Reverend Richardson, so let's begin with you. To know that two young men who heard you give many sermons from that pulpit and heard maybe you in Bible study and Sunday school, to know that they've reached really the pinnacle of their careers, how does that make you feel?
Pea pickle proud. It is really a joy for me to see them grow and develop into young men who are doing something positive and be at the top of their profession. And I'm looking forward to Super Bowl night.
And rooting for both teams, right?
I'm rooting for, you had it right, I'm rooting for both teams.
When you think about the role the church plays in families and helping families to raise their children, how important is that?
It is of utmost importance. It's top of, the spiritual life is the basics for living. And I believe this church has nurtured its young, and those two young men took in some the nurturing, and they were developed into positive citizens. And that's the way they should be. And the church is very important
In making that happen.
and develop the parents and the
That's right.
who develop the children.
That's exactly right. That's right.
Because we also have some part in the development of the children. In teaching and instructing and discipline.
Ms. Ware, teaching, instructing, discipline. I'm going to piggyback off of that. You did a little bit of that with these two, didn't you? Coming through your youth department.
I did.
Talk about what your memories of AJ and of Willie.
Well, both of them I consider my babies, and especially the children here at 16th Section. And the parents, when they are in my care, they belong to me. So as growing up here, and Sister Tillman is back there, we all had our hands on the children. Anybody in the church had the hands on the children. And when we were in Sunday school, they had to be in Sunday school. AJ's mom, Josette, was a Sunday school teacher, so they had no other choice but to be in Sunday school. Bridget, the grandmother, they had no other choice but to be in Sunday school. So they had to come by me because I was a Sunday school teacher. I was the secretary. I was the youth leader. So they had to come by me.
So you were checking marks to see when they were present, right? They were with you, I'm sure, for special trips, for things that were here at the church. You can tell us the secrets. Tell us about the mischievous boys that they might have been. What kind of things were they doing?
Look, as Bridget said, that Chip was always, Willie, Chip was
okay,
always reserved. If you told him sit right there, and he was gonna sit there when you come back. But on the other hand, if you told AJ to sit there, you had to come back. Look, where is AJ? And all of a sudden he'll come right. I didn't do nothing. Get over here and have a seat.
You put them back in line. I've noticed that you have, since they have gone through their college careers and now both of them being in the NFL, you've supported them at some games.
Yes.
What was it like to see them down on that field doing what you know they've always wanted to do?
As Pastor Richardson said, peacock proud. I was so happy for both of them. Anytime I had opportunity, and the really great moment when I went to Nashville and the Titans played Kansas City Chiefs. So at halftime, everybody was looking for me. I left this side and over in the booth with AJ and the family.
So both of you all will be cheering for both teams
Both
on
teams.
Sunday.
Yes.
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 As I said, 16th section wins here. There's no doubt about
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
it. What's your message to those young men on Sunday? We've got about 30 seconds.
Well, my message to them, I love both of you all, and both of you are winners.
Absolutely. Reverend Richardson.
Right. Keep doing what you're doing to the utmost, and bring home the bacon.
Bring home the bacon. We love it. All right, when we come back, we are going to talk to some other influential people in these young men's lives, and there was our school leaders. We're going to do that when we come back. All right, we're back, everyone. Of course, still at 16th section here in Starkville. The theme of this show has been it takes a village, and it has taken a village to get AJ and Willie where they're going to be Sunday on the biggest stage of their lives, really. And they couldn't do it without school leaders, and we are happy to have joining us this morning also a teacher and the athletic director when they were at Starkville High School and won the state championship, I will say, Cynthia Millens and Milton Smith. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with you, Cynthia, because you dealt with them very, very directly because they sat in your sophomore English class,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes,
Talk
ma'am.
about these young men as students.
I'll start with
You don't have to tell us the final grades.
I won't. With AJ and I call Willie Chip. Both great students, and what I love about both of them is both were respectful. They love their families, and as a teacher, I appreciated having someone to call. You know, whether it was AJ's father or I would call Miss Bridget for Willie, but I didn't see a change until I called his grandmother, Anna. And she said, Miss Millens, I know Chip is not at that school cutting up. And I was like, who is Chip? And she said, that's Willie. And so having talked to her, ever since then it was Chip. And so just never had any more problems.
Once he learned that you knew he was Chip,
Yes.
he got in line.
No more problems.
No more
And so
problems.
just great students, just really just proud of them. I wear an AJ jersey because I love AJ. I love Willie too.
But you and AJ have a very special relationship. I
ma'am.
recall when he was at Ole Miss that there was an ESPN interview, and he mentioned you quite a bit in that interview.
Yes, ma'am. We do have a special relationship. I call him my favorite receiver, and he calls me his favorite teacher.
Well, of course.
And of course I am.
Absolutely.
And so just yes, ma'am.
So, Milton, having watched those young men play on the field, watch them develop, and then go on to win a state championship together, there truly for you, there's really nothing greater than to see them where they are now.
Yes, it's a pretty wild atmosphere for those guys to be from Starkville, played at Starkville High School, same community, and to watch them mature to where they're at now. I remember meeting AJ for the first time that spring of 15 when I moved home, and watch him on the baseball field, you can tell he was different. And then to see him and Willie on the football field, you could tell they were a little different than everybody else that was on the football field.
You and I spoke before we came on, and you said they were typical, 16, 17-year-old teenagers, but when they hit the field, when the lights came on, they sort of transformed into something that was just a cut above everybody else.
Yes, AJ used to come by the house and spend the night at the house, and he was a typical 16, 17-year-old kid playing on the phone, playing video games, quiet and reserved. Lights come on, it's like a whole different person comes up. And you could tell that they were boys playing against, grown men. And Willie, he's got an infectious smile. Yes and no, sir. Lights come on. That same smile's on the field, but it's got a little bit more to it when he's playing. He's enjoying himself playing football.
There are some students who just have the natural ability, and that's part of what these two have, because Willie's mom mentioned him in the Pee Wee League, put the ball in his hand, he just ran. He was just fast. So there was that natural ability, but they were also trainable. Talk about them being willing to hear the feedback and to be developed as players.
Yes, they were very coachable. I remember Willie, his senior year, he wanted to play running back the whole year. Well, they held him out to the last 5 or 6 games to play running back. Well, at the end of the year, he wound up being one of the top 2 running backs in the state by only playing 5 or 6 games. AJ, he's real receptive to to Coach Willie G's teachings, coming in and out of breaks. He's a sponge. Both of them are sponges, and they apply what they learn playing, and they're in the Super Bowl.
Cynthia, having taught them in school, having rooted for them in Yellow Jacket Field and at games, are you at all surprised that they've reached this point?
I'm not surprised. This could not have happened to, you know, a more awesome group of men. Well, not a group, but just these couple of guys. It's just because they're just great guys, and for this to happen in Starkville, in this community, in this church, at our high school, it is just great.
I'm gonna
And
tell you, I'm peacock proud too.
yes, peacock, yeah. I mean, it is just awesome. It is just awesome. I can't think of another word to say other than this is awesome.
So when they get out on that field, Milton, this Sunday, the history that they have together, growing up in church as little bitty boys, going to high school, winning a championship together, going to rival schools in the state of Mississippi, and now rivals on the Super Bowl game. How do they approach that? What do you say to them?
It's business. It's business. We'll be friends afterwards. As an old ball coach, you know, we'll be friends afterwards.
All right.
You know, we got to play.
Go Jackets, right?
Go Jackets.
Go
Go
Jackets.
Jackets.
All right. Thank you both so much. I appreciate it. All right, stay with us. We'll be back to wrap things up. All right, we're wrapping up here at 16th Section Missionary Baptist Church in Starkville with AJ's dad, Willie's mom. And before we go, what if you could give your son some advice going into this game Sunday? What would it be, Bridget? I'll start with you.
Actually, I would tell my son, like I told him this morning, I texted him this morning, I say, this is a dream come true. If you're living your dream, don't take not one moment for granted. And every opportunity, give God the glory, because it's Him that allowed it to happen. And you know, you're actually living your dream. You're on the biggest stage that you can actually play on in your career, and a lot of players don't even get there.
That's right.
And you there in 3 years.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Arthur, what would you tell AJ?
It's a lot of things I could tell him, but this is what I always tell him: just have fun and enjoy the game. I don't have to tell him about the word, because he already got that. He already know that, because that's already put in him. So just enjoy the moment.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty much it. And I love him.
Great advice, best advice there. All right, thank you all so much for joining us. We appreciate it. That is all of our time. Go AJ, go Willie, and that's all I'm saying. We'll see you back here next time.